Well, Casey here. Today we are going to part 3 of Figma to Webflow, how I take a design in Figma and develop that out in Webflow. And today we're going to be looking at the CMS. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to best design the CMS in Webflow so that it will speed up your build and keep things much more organized. So let's hop into the computer and check that out. All right, now we're in the computer here, and as you can see on the screen, I have the CMS collection that I have built out for my client, and this started in Figma. And so if we pop back over here to the Figma file, you can see that I have the portfolio page with all the different items, and then I actually went ahead and built out all of the different items in Figma and laid them out exactly how they're going to be laid out in the collection page or the portfolio page on the website. That way I would understand, like, okay, how can we make this collection work for future portfolio pieces, as well as how can we make it consistent so that as people are looking through, they have an idea of what information they're going to be getting as they look through his portfolio, and they would know right away, okay, this is going to be the heading field, the results field, the challenges field, the summary field, the social post field. That way everything is consistent, everything is easy to go scan through and to see that this guy would actually be a good person to help me when it comes to social media management and all the other things that he's currently doing for his clients. And so as you can see, I built all of these out, and then what I did so that I would have a good understanding of all of the different fields that I'm going to need and the structure that I'm going to need for the actual portfolio page, I took and combined all the different elements from each of the portfolio pieces that were different into one long portfolio piece. And this is actually what I use as a template to build out the actual portfolio page inside of Webflow. The next thing I did before I really jumped in and built this out is I opened up a notes file. Whatever file works for you works. And I pulled up Figma, and I had my notes file right next to one another. And I just went down and literally wrote out every single field that I'm going to need and what type of field it's going to be. And so as you see, for the header, it's going to be a reference field. The actual, or the category, excuse me, the header is going to be a plain text field, and the paragraph overview plain text field. The award is going to be an image field, etc., etc., etc. I went down and wrote out all the different types of fields that I'm going to need, and then underneath that, I wrote out exactly what that particular field is going to be named in the CMS, along with the help text that is there as well. So this gave me an opportunity to really sit down, think about what the flow was going to look like inside of the CMS as well as on the portfolio page, so that when I went inside of Webflow to build that out, I already had all of the text written out, ready to go. And essentially I just copied and pasted each of these into the different fields, and I checked these off as I went through and built out each field inside of the collection. And so let's hop into the collection here, and I'll show you what I ended up doing. And so of course everything has a title. I have a sort order on these things. I've got my card image, my header category, which is pulling from this categories file right over here. Nice little reference file. As well as I went ahead and named each one of these sections. So the results section, and exactly where that's going to appear inside of the collection or the portfolio item, so that whenever my client is referencing that, it would make it easy for them, but it would also be easy for me as I'm building this out and connecting each of these fields. Now, one of the things that I ended up doing inside of the Webflow CMS that I did not do on the notes, and what I would highly recommend, is if you have something like this that's pretty complex and long. I mean, there are 3 fields out of 60 that are left, and so doing the math, what is that, 57 fields, and so that's quite a bit of fields. And so to make my life easier when I was connecting these, and I'll show you that here in a moment, I labeled each of these as sections, and then 1A, 1B, 1C, so that way they will appear in order when I go to connect each of these fields on the portfolio page. And so you can see that there are 4 sections. Some sections have more options than others, but each of them are labeled so that they will show up in order. And so let me show you that page real quick and show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So if we click over here to the portfolios template, essentially when you are connecting these particular pages, you're going to click on one of these items. You're going to go over here to the gear, and then it's going to say get text from. And this is where labeling each of those sections, particularly down in the social media post area, was really helpful. And so if I click on this, you can see that there's a header category. And then if you click on, here's the title right here, and then the header overview paragraph, it makes it really easy for me to know exactly what I need to connect that to. But where it becomes really useful and really important is down here in the social content field. And so when I click on this particular rich text field to connect it, you notice right here that it says social content section 1C, first post, 3-column grid. And then you click on this next one, section 1C, second post, 3-column grid. See, I know exactly which field to connect this to, and there's no mystery, there's no guessing or anything like that. And then as you move to different pages that, you know, have different items on that, and so if we pop over here to the Gymshark portfolio piece, you can see that in this, you know, we have a lot more, you know, fields to connect up. And particularly in the social content, where we have a YouTube video that's going to connect up. And so this is section 1B, standalone video, social post. This right here, heading, is the beginning of that. Section 1A, heading and paragraph. And as you keep moving down, you know, I know exactly which section I'm in and exactly which post to connect, as well as over here on the left side, you notice that I have each of these labeled. You know, social content, 3-column grid. I know exactly what that is, as well as I know exactly where the items are, so that I know exactly which rich text field to connect, as well as which one to connect over here on the right side. And that makes it really easy. So that is a pro tip right there that I hope that you take. It's something that I probably should have done from the very beginning, because if we pop back over here to my notes file, you notice that I don't have those sections on here. And I originally built out the collection without those sections labeled like that. You know, I have right here social content, first social media post, section 1, but I did not put, you know, section 1A, 1B, 1C on there. And so everything was just kind of smushed together, and I was having to look through to see, well, which section am I on, which one do I need to connect, and it was very tedious. And so I just went back through and renamed everything in the back end of the collection, so that when I was connecting the rest of the posts together, it ended up making things run a lot smoother. The other thing that I did is, you notice that on this particular page, you know, there are a lot of YouTube videos, and then there's the summary section, and there's this approach and challenges section. But if we pop back over here to the John Wick portfolio piece, you're going to notice that those sections are not there. We have a results section, but there's not a challenges or approach section. It just hops right into summary and into the social content, but there's no YouTube videos. And so one of the ways that you can do that is actually by using the conditional visibility field. And that's what I've done on most of these right here. I've used the conditional visibility field in order to hide different sections. And so you can see the challenges section, which, you know, doesn't appear on the John Wick post. It's hidden. So if there's nothing that's put inside of this right side paragraph on the challenges field, well, it's not going to show up in the collection. And I've gone through, and you can see each of these little marks next to the different sections. These are all conditional visibility marks. And so if there's nothing in that particular rich text field or that particular section, then the entire section would hide, or that particular field would hide. That's a really powerful way to be able to give your client options as they're going to be building out a portfolio section in the future, without having to build out multiple portfolio sections. And so if we hop back over here to the back end of the CMS, you can see all of these different options that they would have: a 3-column grid, a 2-column grid, different headings and standalone posts, and they can create different sections and things like that, all again following what was in the Figma file, but utilizing the power of conditional visibility and also the rich text fields, because the rich text fields give you options. You can put text, you can put images, you can put videos, you can embed social media posts inside of those fields as well. And so they're very powerful to utilize when it comes to building out a portfolio, in this particular case, when you're going to be handing this over to a client. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on how you might be able to build out your CMS collections. Well, hopefully you have some ideas on how you might be able to build your next CMS collection, as you've watched how I bring a design over from Figma into Webflow and build out a portfolio CMS for one of my clients. Join me in the next video as we're going to be looking at how we might launch the website, and then what it's going to look like to hand that website off to a client, all the documentation and things like that I would do before handing that off to the particular client. And so I look forward to seeing you in the next episodes of Figma to Webflow.